Welcome to our Meet the Experts TV Showrunners panel. I'm here with Eric Kripke from The Boys, Billy Ray from The Comey Rule, Ben Winston from Friends, The Reunion, and Suzan-Lori Parks from Genius Aretha. Now, TV is such an inherently collaborative medium. What have been the most important lessons or takeaways that you've gotten from being in that kind of leadership position on a set? Let's start with Eric.
Wait, me? Did you say?
Yeah, Eric.
Okay. I'm not really good at being a leader, it turns out.
Everyone was so relieved that I can say that Billy and Susan and I were so relieved that you just said Eric. That's the first thing.
Yeah. I mean, what I've really learned is that to just embrace the camaraderie that you can really run a very kind and respectful company, but that really starts with you. And so you have to, like I give a speech at every production meeting of one of the most important things to me on a set is that everyone always says please and thank you every time. Like just little things to me are that you can create an environment where people can like flourish, but also really feel safe. And that's been something that's really been really pleasurable. That whole, like, it's almost like a previous generation, that whole myth that you have to be just this huge asshole and yell and have people like, be intimidated and somehow that's how you control something is not just outdated, but it probably never quite worked that well. Like people just really thrive with just communication, and you can have any difficult conversation as long as you have it directly and honestly and respectfully. And so to me, it's I guess I'll sum up. I'll say respect. I learned, the best thing I learned as a showrunner is how to create an environment of respect.
And Suzan-Lori, I know we talked a little bit one-on-one. You mentioned the collaborative nature of it and of theater as well. So is that also part of it?
Yeah, sure. And I would agree with Eric. We had a similar vibe where I would say the youngins, the PAs, the young people working on their first show would come up to me and say, your opportunity is my opportunity. And I would say, yes, that is correct. And I would say back to them, my opportunity is your opportunity. Your opportunity is my opportunity. The fact that, like in the movement, we would say, each one teach one or lift others as you climb. It's good to hear that the asshole boss thing is on its way out. And hopefully it will take some other outmoded leadership styles with it, or even expand our idea of who has the right to be in charge. You know what I mean? Because this is what a showrunner looks like. A lot of people don't know that. And I really appreciated the opportunity to walk the talk, because it sounds like, Eric, you have the same thing. It's not enough just to say, let's be this way. You have to demonstrate a new way of being an authority figure. You have to really demonstrate it. And especially when it, like with us, it was like COVID, in the middle of COVID. And I had to talk to some people who were, I think, of another generation who did not look like me. We were in Atlanta, and I had to convince some of these men folk, hey, sir, you got to wear your mask. You really got to wear your mask. And it was a lot of those little tiny moments. But again, a constant coming together as a team made it very beautiful.
And how about you, Billy?
Well, I believe in kindness, but I also think kindness is productive. What's the job of a director or a showrunner? You've got to draw the best out of the people that are around you. I'm not playing the parts. I'm not hanging the lights. I'm not writing the music. I need all of those artists and craftspeople to deliver me their absolute best. I think they'll do that at the most optimum level if they're inspired and if they're treated with respect. So it's not only the nice thing to do, it's actually the smart thing to do. And everybody walks away feeling like they've had a great experience. And they root for you and they root for the show. And I don't know how that energy can ever be a bad thing.
And Ben?
Well, I agree with everything that's been said for sure. I always think that you want to. I'm always very aware of what I don't know, and I think it's more important to be really aware of what you're not good at and what you don't know than you are sure about what you do, because I think it's so important to surround yourself with people who don't just go, yeah, that's great. Like I hope that in the shows that we make, I surround myself with people who actually often will go, that is a terrible idea. And it's so important that I think we have our ears open as well as always speaking. And I think that's a real key thing. Something that happened the other night, that made me think about that when I was thinking about that, is that we were doing our final watch down of Friends the other night. It was about 2 a.m. in the morning. We were locking our offline cut. And our last scene was around 5 minutes long. And my assistant, who's worked with me, every day, she was just sat up there because she wanted to be part of it and watch. And it's this big pinnacle moment of the show. And we finished and we were all about to lock picture and congratulate ourselves. And she went, I'd cut that whole last 5 minutes. And it was like a dagger to my heart. I was like, what are you talking about? That's the ending of the film. I can't cut the last 5 minutes. She's like, I don't think it was very good. And and after the insult had settled with me, I was like, actually, she might be right, because we've got 2 endings. And I hadn't really thought about it. And to be fair to her, we cut the last 5 minutes. And we did it there that night, 2:30 in the morning, and cut that last whole 5 minutes of the show. And I think that it's so important, that there's people around you that you let join in the processes that sometimes in the past, when I was a PA or a researcher or an AP or working my way up, those doors were shut. It's very important that you open those doors, you listen, you have an open heart to them, and actually realize the stuff that you don't know much more than the stuff that you do.
Having not seen your show, Ben, I think you deserve an Emmy for making that decision. Because, it's so important that you be tough on your own material and that you be willing to put aside the insult and the hurt feelings if someone criticizes it, to say, well, is that a fair criticism? Is the show better off without something like that? That really speaks very well of you, so bravo.
Oh, well, listen, but then again, if everyone hates the show, I'll just blame her. So,
right.
So you're covered.
Win either way.
Perfect.
Win either way. Win either way.
Now that's smart. That's show running. That there, Daniel.
It'll be fun in the morning. First bad review, she's out.
In practice of show running.
And the shows that you've all worked on are so different from each other. I wonder what inspires you to take a project or an idea that makes you want to work on it. Start with Suzan-Lori.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Grazer made me an offer I can't refuse. I can't lie. He called me up and said, hey, on FaceTime, hey, his hair was doing its thing. We're doing Genius Aretha. You want to run the show? And I'm like, yeah. I'm such a huge fan of Aretha Franklin, and I knew there were going to be difficulties in telling her story, because it's like when Billy was talking, we have these or even Eric, hey, all of us actually, we're writing from a place where there are a lot of fans, a lot of folks who are in the know about what we're writing about, whether they be fans of the comic book or fans of Friends or, fans of Trump or Comey. We have people. I had so many fans of Aretha Franklin wanting me to get her story right. And by that, it meant telling her story in a certain way. And there be the minefields, you know what I mean? Because my desire was to tell an authentic story that would put respect on her name. And sometimes that, I interviewed folks I talked for months and months, it seemed, to Clive Davis, for example, or members of her family and her estate to get her story right. And sometimes they told different things about her, and we had to incorporate everything.
And how about you, Billy? What inspires you about a project?
Well, it's different every time. I mean, if I wake up thinking about it, that's the one I have to write. If there's something inside me that's kind of trying to gnaw its way out of my subconscious, then that's the one. And in this case, the election of Donald Trump just completely flattened me. I mean, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I cried every day for 8 weeks and had to be medicated. It was pretty bad. And I was looking for a way to write about that. I felt my career had to change. I had to make some comment about what I saw happening to my country. And I was looking for the right way in. And one day, a producer named Shane Salerno, who was a friend, called me up and said, "Do you want to do the Comey book?" And I said, "Get it to me." It was the night before it was published. And I read it overnight. I said, "I'm in." And it felt to me like the way to talk about Trump was actually to do a love story between a man and an institution, in which everything he did was in defense of that institution, and Trump was the bad guy. And that you could structure it like Jaws, where you held off seeing the shark for as long as humanly possible. And for us, that meant you don't see it for all of night one. That was an inspiration that kept me going all the way through the process, because I had such strong feelings about who my villain was.
And Ben?
Well, I hate to follow those two, because Aretha Franklin is one of the icons of all time, and Suzan-Lori made the most amazing series of it. And I think Billy made one of the most important dramas of last year that shocked me and kept me awake the nights that followed it. It really did. It really kept me awake afterwards, that could happen today in society, and it made me so angry. I sort of just wanted to check that everybody had seen it. I was walking around for days just going, "Have you seen it? Have you seen it? It's outrageous." Whereas I'm now going to talk about people singing in a car on carpool karaoke, or singing at the Grammys, or doing Friends. So my stuff is definitely less important. I'd say, look, what excites me is when I feel like I can do something that's not been maybe done before. I think that's what excites me. So when I came to America, it was to run a late night show with a guy I admired, like James Corden, and I felt like there was an opportunity to make a show that could be really different and vibrant and digital and viral, and not worry about a time slot, but just go loud and brash and exciting and embrace the digital age. And that excited me. I took over the Grammys this year. It was my first year doing the Grammys, and I thought, well, actually, it's sort of it's actually a real exciting proposition to showrun a 3.5-hour live night of music with the greatest artists in the world, and paying tribute to those who have gone this year, and do it in a COVID era actually almost excited me more, if I'm being honest, because it allowed me to do different things with it. And Friends, I think, is one of the biggest shows of all time. So to be given the responsibility of getting those 6 back together, those are the things that I want to do, things that don't feel like a job. I want to do things where I feel like if I was doing this for free, I'd still be actually having a great life. And I think that's sort of my mentality on things. If something excites me, like the shows I'm lucky enough to do, then I feel like what a life we lead, that we can do this for a living and people allow us to. It's bonkers, really. We're like doing school plays, and like people are going, "Yeah, that's great," and we get to chat to you, and that's bonkers, really. So I guess so as soon as it starts becoming to feel like a job, and there have been a few shows that I've done where I haven't enjoyed them, and therefore I haven't gone back. And I think that if we're lucky enough to do the things we do, and we can have fun, and that we can call this our job, then we're on the right path.
Mm-hmm. And Eric?
Purely paycheck. The height of the paycheck is how much I enjoy the job. That's right.
I think it's good to have the courage to say it. I really do.
Yeah. No,
I've heard that about Eric.
That's leadership. The truth is I came out of network, and I came out of, I served 6 years on a show of 22 episodes a year, and then ran a couple others that were, somewhere between 18 to 20. And, and some days are amazing, but there's a lot of days that, you're in just endless triage. So for me, and because of networks, I was never, I have I think you can tell from The Boys, like my sense of humor is a little perverse, and I've never quite got an opportunity to do that on network television for, probably really good reasons. So for me, the Boys is like a singular pleasure for me. It's easily the best job I've ever had, and it's the job I'm most excited about. So I'm sort of excited that this late in my career is my all-time favorite job, and the thing that I've loved the most, where I feel, it's weird. You feel like you're like a kid in your 20s again, getting into the business because you're so excited. And That's just like being on streaming, having only 8 episodes. So good. Having like, you know, the budget to do it right, having really, there's standards and practices, but not nearly at the same level. Creative freedom, you know, all scripts written before you shoot, so you can like drop a clue into episode 2 that pays off in episode 7, which is like even that's a luxury, because I'm working on episode 6 and episode 2 is already airing, and you're just trying to stay in front of the machine. So all of those things conspire to make this like the best job I've ever had, and it's been a long time, like what Billy said, since I've been like, I can't wait to get out of bed every morning to work on this show. And so I've also been around the block enough to know to not take that for granted, and to like relish and be grateful for every second of it, because it doesn't happen every time, and it doesn't even happen that often.
Well, I want to thank all 4 of you for joining me and talking about the wide variety of your work. Congratulations on all of it. Thank you for joining me, and all of you go cash those paychecks.
Congrats to you guys. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks, guys. Great work, you guys. Really, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.